The Leviathan Chronicles, an audio adventure.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening from the flight deck. We've just received some reports that we'll be passing through a small patch of turbulence ahead, so we'll be turning on the fasten seatbelt sign. So if you're up and about the cabin, we ask that you please return to your seat and fasten your seatbelts.
Oh, I wonder if I could just quickly run to the loo. If I got it right now, I don't think the flight attendants will notice.
Whitt Roberts glibly grunted at his seatmate as she stepped into the aisle of the business class cabin on Air China Flight 4396 from Newark to Shenzhen. The 747 passed over the remote foothills of the Gobi Desert, and the lightless surface below stretched endlessly, making it appear that the plane was flying over water. What no one realized is that the flight was already over 1,000 miles off course.
Huh? That's weird. I'm in flight. I thought I shut it off earlier.
Whitt reached into his backpack on the floor. He had just received a text.
Open your carry-on bag, combination 4672. What the hell? I'm over Chinese airspace. How could I? Open your carry-on bag, Whitt. You have less than 60 seconds. Who is this? 60 seconds before what? Before the plane is ripped apart. Holy shit.
Whitt fumbled to unfasten his seatbelt.
Sir.
He sprang up from his seat
have to take your
and
seat.
Ripped open the overhead storage compartment, slamming the carbon fiber bag onto the cabin floor.
Sir, I'm sorry, but the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign.
2.
Sir!
Lady, please.
Whitt threw open the suitcase, revealing a dark face mask.
What the hell is this?
Sir!
Put on the mask and strap yourself into seat. 5 seconds?
2 massive explosions detonated on the left wing, sending the plane careening to its port side. Passengers screamed as the plane fell into a violent dive. A food cart broke loose of its foot brake and slammed into the flight attendant, knocking her to the ground. Oxygen masks erupted out of the overhead compartments of the cabin as gravity within the plane dissipated. 3 passengers were brutally smashed upwards, leaving red blood marks on the ceiling. Whitt desperately clung onto the armrest of his seat as his legs began to rise higher than his head.
Seat. Got to get to the seat.
Mayday! We have lost all engines. Repeat, we have lost all the engines.
Whitt felt his phone vibrate again. His hand was shaking so hard he could barely see the words.
Put on the mask. Stay fastened to your seat.
Just as he managed to buckle his seatbelt, both emergency doors burst open in front of Whitt. 2 of the flight attendants were sucked out violently. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see other passengers that were buckled into their seats lose consciousness as the plane fell out of the sky.
Damn mask.
The 747 thrashed from side to side. Bodies were now being thrown around the cabin like bloody dolls. Keeping his head close to his lap, Whitt took the mask and pulled it over his head. It created an airtight seal over his face and allowed him to fully open his eyes despite the depressurization of the cabin. Without warning, electrical sparks erupted out of the side of the plane beside Whitt. He could feel the outside jet stream rushing around him, and his body began to shiver uncontrollably from the frigid cold. The sparks continued downward until a 30-foot piece of fuselage suddenly ripped away from the plane. More bodies and debris flew past Whitt when he then saw something he had never seen before in his life. A spheroid pod was affixed to the outside of the aircraft, anchored by 2 articulated mechanical arms that gripped what remained of the deteriorating fuselage.
Jesus.
The strange pod also possessed a spinning buzzsaw and a strong claw-like appendage.
Oh my god!
Whitt felt faint and cold as the buzzsaw shot directly towards his neck. But to his relief, the mechanical arm moved lower, striking the mounting clamps of his seat bracket, quickly cutting through the metal. The arm shot forward again, showering Whitt in more painful sparks. The claw pulled Whitt's entire seat row into the pod and quickly disengaged from the Air China flight into free fall. Just before a parachute was deployed, Whitt peered out from a clear panel on the side as he watched his Air China flight bank heavily to the left before disappearing completely from view. The escape pod descended through a thick bank of low-lying clouds until the placid blue water of Lake Karnos was visible below. Whitt felt the pod touch ground as the explosive bolts fired, causing the front panel to break away, allowing a burst of fresh Mongolian air to rush inwards. Whitt squinted his eyes and stepped out of the pod into a small pebble shoreline. He saw a woman wearing a white coat standing with her back to him, staring out at the lake. Next to her towered a 15-foot mechanical humanoid with 2 titanium arms on both its left and right side. Neither turned to look at him.
You're late.
You have been listening to the Leviathan Chronicles, written and created by Christoph Lepupka, executive produced by Robin Shaw, produced and musical composition by Luke Allen, directed by Nobi Nakanishi, starring Tom Falcone as Whitt Roberts and Samantha Parker as the narrator. For a full cast list, more information and news, visit our website at leviathanchronicles.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for listening.